How do you honor a great tradition? One built on the backs of legends.
Rooney will take off, and he turns it upfield. Look at this.
Driven by the play of breakout stars.
The 6th touchdown pass for Garcia.
There's a sight that only a father and a son can really appreciate it.
And remembered for those electrifying moments.
Here comes the Gids. Straight ahead he goes, and look out!
Some have been around long enough to understand what it takes to leave your stamp on a true classic.
It's picked off. Davis Reed could take it the distance.
And for the 48th time, the message is the same.
We're going into Calgary. We will not be bullied.
It's the Battle of Alberta. Did you expect anything different? Oh,
Some games just mean a little more.
Well, if that doesn't get you ready for this one, I don't know what will. The Edmonton Eskimos have lost 6 in a row. They've been oh so close, but close isn't cutting it anymore. They got to start getting some wins, and what better place than to start today against the Calgary Stampeders as we say hello, everybody, coast to coast. Dave Randorf, Chris Schultz, Matt Dunnigan, and Jock Climbing.
By the way, after seeing that, I changed my mind.
No, you can't.
Rivalries do matter. That was awesome.
That was great. We hope you had a great holiday weekend, and thanks for finishing off your summer unofficially here with us today. For the Eskimos and the Calgary Stampeders, the Stamps are a very impressive 6-2 right now, and now they're starting to get guys back, Manny, on top of everything else. They get John Cornish back today.
Yeah, absolutely. Mo Price, we talked about him. D-line, Micah Johnson comes back early off of 9 games, so they're starting to get healthy at 6-2. They piecemealed a really solid season together already. I don't think this football team is concerned with being the best right now. They're getting healthy, and they're concerned about being the best at the end of the football season. This team is very focused, very dangerous as far as I'm concerned. Eskimos going to have their work cut out for them tonight.
I think they will be focused. You know, we talked about with the Winnipeg game in Saskatchewan, we obviously talked about how Saskatchewan might take Winnipeg lightly, and maybe we were wondering that for the first 3 quarters. I think the fact that Edmonton is playing well and losing a lot of games by narrow margins means that Calgary will not take them lightly. There's no way that Edmonton is sneaking up on Calgary in this game. I believe they will come in very prepared.
You know, guys, I've developed a ton of respect for Mike Riley as a quarterback. Not so much for those quarterback skills and being polished, but, man, this kid plays with a big heart, and he overcomes a lot of adversity, and he takes a lot of punishment. But what has to stop is the punishment. They got to find a way of protecting him, or he's not going to last the season. He's on the way up as a quarterback.
His numbers have been fantastic the last few games. He's going to have to pull that out today at McMahon Stadium. It's a tradition that dates back to 1949. Terry Eastman of Fort McMurray, Alberta, you can win the ultimate $25,000 home theater package from Visions Electronics if a kickoff is returned for a touchdown in tonight's game, thanks to Safeway's touchdown to win promotion. And if a second kickoff is returned, you could win $1 million. The Calgary Stampeders have won 3 of the last 4 Labor Day games against the Edmonton Eskimos. We've got the kickoff from McMahon Stadium on Labor Day Monday. You're watching the CFL on TSN.
The tradition and the hostilities in the Battle of Alberta are renewed for the 48th time on Labor Day at McMahon. It's the Eskimos and the Stampeders and the annual Labor Day Classic.
This is Honorary Colonel John Melbourne of 410 Squadron, Cold Lake, Alberta. From everyone in the Canadian Forces, enjoy the Labor Day Classic on TSN.
That's got to fire you up. Kevin Glenn played in 4 Labor Day Classics to this point, has won all 4 as a member of the Bombers in 2004, 2 in Hamilton in 09 and 10, and last year as a starter for the Calgary Stampeders. And over the last 3 games, Mike Riley has been the most productive quarterback in the CFL and hasn't been able to get that elusive win. Maybe this afternoon.
Well, it was a thriller last year, 31-30 in favor of the home side, set to go in 2013. And a welcome to folks watching south of the border on NBCSN. We're underway, and Larry Taylor on the return for the Stampeders. And he is stopped short of the 35-yard line. Our starters to watch are brought to you by Napa Auto Parts, where custom advice comes standard.
Kevin Glenn's got to work with a relatively new receiving core because of the injury situation here in Calgary. He does have John Cornish back, who missed last week's start, so the run game should be sound. He'll lean on Marquay McDaniel, who's a former teammate going back to his days in Hamilton, and Mo Price is back.
There's Cornish back in the lineup, 505 yards rushing against Edmonton in 4 games last year, second in the league. Short yardage on his first carry.
The key is to try and stop John Cornish if you're the Edmonton Eskimos defensively. So I've put up all 3 linebackers. Rennie Kearns in the middle. Damaso Munoz outside, 49 tackles, ranks 4th in the CFL. And TJ Hill, who was asked to make the speech to the players yesterday and during the work week. He's got experience in this game.
2nd and 7, early movement, and the play doesn't get off. The Stampeders wearing their traditional blacks for special games, and this all began back in 1994 when...
Procedure, Calgary, number 63, 5-yard penalty. Repeat, 2nd down.
That's the left guard John Gott. 94, they warmed up in red and surprised everybody, came out in black and blasted the Eskimos 48-15.
3-0 at home for the Calgary Stampeders, and that winning record when they wear the black jerseys.
So 2nd and 12 after the penalty. Flags fly again as Kevin Glenn has dropped Marcus Howard, but it looked like the Eskimos may have jumped offside. Howard with 2 sacks on the year after 11 2 years ago.
Both these teams may be trying to settle their nerves a little bit.
Offside, Edmonton, number 91. 5-yard penalty, repeat, 2nd down.
And it was Marcus Howard offside.
Well, Marcus Howard got a great jump. It looked like Ted Laurent moved a little early as well. Marcus Howard is off the edge. There's Laurent's early movement, and then Howard sort of reacted to that as well. May have got the wrong number.
Yep.
Either way, both teams a little jumpy.
So back to 2nd and 7. And Kevin Glenn stands in, and he has a completion to Marquay McDaniel. They used to combine on Labor Day in Hamilton, and it's a 2nd down conversion for McDaniel, 25 yards.
Number 1 receiver for the Calgary Stampeders right now. You mentioned that chemistry that was developed years ago when they were teammates in Hamilton, when Kevin Glenn went 2-0 as a member of the Ticats on Labor Day Monday against the Toronto Argonauts. They hook up early.
And working against another former Ticat, Marcel Young. 7 catches each of the last 2 games for McDaniel. John Cornish, nothing doing. Marcus Howard was there to close down on him quickly. Back at the 50, and it's a loss for Cornish.
You know, Marcus Howard's fired up. We've seen him on the opening series. He's going to just get upfield and close the corner. Basically melt the corner on Rob Cote, who tries to get outside to the next level. That turns Cornish inside, and that's where Marcus Howard knows his friends are coming from.
40. Ted Laurent to the sidelines. Don Oramacion checks in on 2nd and long. Kevin Glenn, he's got McDaniel once again, and another 1st down strike for Marquay McDaniel. Without Nick Lewis, he's the go-to guy.
Well, and Maurice Price just getting back in the lineup, another starter, so they're trying to find a veteran that they can lean on. 5 years experience for Marquay McDaniel out of Hampton. Number 14 in the CFL, but he leads the Stamps with all their injury issues. And An early connection for Kevin Glenn.
14th in the league in receiving, the only Stampeder receiver in the top 20. Big to Cornish, lots of time. Glenn will take a shot. End zone knocked down, and a flag flies. The intended target, Jabari Arthur, and pass interference will be the call.
Chris Wabakamba, the wide side corner, was trailing, threw down the seam here, and I believe he just put his hands on the back. He's pleading that this wasn't against him.
Number 15 in the end zone. Ball be placed on the 1-yard line. First down.
It is Wabakamba.
Wabakamba is the outside here as Jabari Arthur tries to split the seam of this zone defense, and he's got his hands on the back of Arthur, and I think it looked like, whether it was right or not, Arthur looked like he was falling backwards. The official thought he was being pulled backwards by Wabakamba.
Tough call. Levi Mitchell the sneak, and he's in for the score. Short yardage team finishes it off. 7 plays, 76 yards for an opening possession touchdown.
Couple of throws early to Marquay McDaniel. Get this offense rolling. Well, Levi Mitchell finishes it. Or does he?
Now he'll hold as Reddy Paredes looks for the extra point. Third time this year Calgary has opened with a touchdown on their first possession. Levi Mitchell, one of the 3 Calgary quarterbacks who have seen regular action this year. So Levi Mitchell caps the drive. Of note, a couple of second down and long conversions from Kevin Glenn to Marquay McDaniel to set things up for the young Texan to score.
Well, and 2 penalties for Edmonton. One that offside by Marcus Howard. Kept the drive alive, and then the PI call.
So newcomer for the Eskimos on the kick return. This is Deontay Purvis. Flag comes down as he crosses the 30 up to the 32-yard line. Purvis out of UNLV making his CFL debut.
Mike Riley has thrown for over 1,100 yards in the last 3 games, has a 500-yarder.
Holding. Edmonton number 39. A 10-yard penalty. First down.
Corbin Sharoon called. The Eskimos with only 3 penalties all of last week.
500-yarder in that series, averaging 375 per game, but just can't seem to buy a win. He's leading receiver, and the CFL's leader is Fred Stamps at 684 yards. And since Kerry Koch has moved to play in tandem with Stamps, he's produced a couple touchdown catches the last couple of games.
4 straight games of 27 points or more for this Eskimo offense that starts just beyond its 10-yard line. And a handoff to John White. He is buried quickly. There's Charleston Hughes. John White, the starter, in place of Hugh Charles.
And that's the first starter that I think would be, well, let's just say it'll be fun to watch, Charleston Hughes. He loves Labor Day. He's been playing on fire of late. 5 quarterback sacks. Remember, he missed a couple of games due to injury. Keon Raymond, kind of the straw that stirs the drink defensively for this team. And Brandon Smith is in there because he leads the team in tackles from the secondary and maybe matched up on Stamps a little this afternoon as well.
And again, a pre-snap penalty. This will be the 5th penalty in the opening 5 minutes.
They're a little fired up. This is a different game than any of the regular season. The intensity level goes up. That rivalry, the one
Offside.
thing you know.
Calgary number 49. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, second down.
Well, Cordero Law.
The one thing you know about Labor Day, Chris, as you know from covering so many of them, is that this game will be physical.
Well, I can think of Alondra Johnson and Blake Marshall colliding. shook the stadium. Great tradition. 2nd and 7. Riley up top for Stamps. And Stamps drops it. Well, you don't see that very often. Fred Stamps has been as hot as Mike Riley. They have lit it up for the last 3 weeks, and a drop on what could have been a big play.
Well, 3 out of the last 4 games for Stamps. He's been over 100 yards, so absolutely, Chris. In fact, the deep ball to Stamps has been the go-to play for Riley. He made a nice adjustment to get to the ball, and then just, you don't see that very often, if ever.
So Larry Taylor waits. Grant Shaw stands at the Eskimo goal line.
Let him go!
And here's Taylor letting it bounce off his leg. Eskimos may have been within the 5 yards, but that ball's still alive. Marco McDaniel's got it, and he'll step out at the 35. Wild stuff here. Calgary maintains possession, and it looked like it went off Taylor's foot with Eskimos within that 5-yard halo.
Well, and if they're within the 5 yards, obviously it goes back to Calgary no matter who recovers, but it was recovered by Calgary. Either way.
No yards. Edmonton. 5-yard penalty. That's declined. First down, Calgary.
So they get the yardage on McDaniel's return.
So the Stampeders with the lead and great field position.
Hi, Canada. I'm Kevin Glenn of the Calgary Stampeders.
Glenn takes a shot. Crosser, Larry Taylor, touchdown. And the Calgary Stampeders. So back at McMahon, the Stampeders will scrimmage first down at the Eskimo 34-yard line after the McDaniel return. A lot of movement in behind Glenn, and he's got plenty of time downfield. And incomplete, looking for Greg Carr, isolated against linebacker Eric Samuels.
Greg Carr getting a chance to play here. He's going to run the corner route. And Kevin Glenn puts it out there in front of him. He's getting the trail position with TJ Hill, and above that is Eric Samuels to help him over the top. So TJ Hill there fighting to get underneath that, with Samuels coming over top. Basically a cover 2-man type of defense. Man underneath, 2 deep help defenders to help over the top.
So it's 2nd and 10. Fake one way, look back the other. Cornish, and a big tackle made there. Damaso Munoz.
Oh boy.
Otherwise, John Cornish is still running.
And probably scores. I thought when this play started to develop that we were going to see a screen with blockers out front and John Cornish coming underneath, and it looked wide open. One man for the Edmonton Eskimos had a chance. Damaso Munoz, number 45, and he gets there.
Cardinals alive.
So here is Rene Paredes, who had his field goal streak end at 39, 23 of 24 on the year. And he will drill this one to expand the Stampeder lead.
Hey, Canada. I'm Mike Riley of the Edmonton Eskimos.
Looking downfield, he's got it. Somehow Mike Riley got it through a tight window.
And you're watching the Labor Day Classic on TSN.
Well, there's John White, who starts in place of the injured Hugh Charles, who had a huge Labor Day game last year. 6 catches, 123 yards, and a touchdown. Pressure on Riley, hit as he got it away, but the catch is made, and Kerry Koch looks like he has the initial first down of the game for Edmonton.
Boy, Riley took a big one, and that's been a recurring theme throughout the last 3 games, is Riley picking himself up off the turf. I believe it was Juwan Simpson that got in there, and along with Deron Mayo. Mayo gets there. Juwan Simpson ready to go.
Boy, he took some punishment last week in the loss to Saskatchewan. Here's John White trying to cut it back, and he's not going anywhere. Brought down by Micah Johnson back in the lineup off the 9-game disabled list.
I think Edmonton Eskimo coaching staff, including Kavis Reed, interested to see John White get more than 3 or 4 or 5 carries in a game. He's been subbing in for Hugh Charles. He's got the school records at Utah for rush yards per game at 106 and career 100-yard games at 14. And we'll see what he looks like when he gets up in that 14-15 carry mark.
Tell us he's a good blocker. Releases from the backfield. Trouble here. And Cordero Law gets home for the sack. And the Stampeders dominating this opening quarter.
Nice done here from Cordero Law. He's going to start out like he's the rush end on the outside and then come all the way around. So confusion up front for the Edmonton offensive line. Simeon Rotier does not react in time, loses his gap containment in the inside out, and Law gets home.
Team leading 6th sack for Law, who beat Stevie Baggs out for the job at defensive end on the other side of Charleston Hughes. Here's Taylor settling under it at about the 26. And he is stopped short of the 30-yard line. Mike Cornell leading a wave downfield for the Eskimos. Kevin Glenn in a 10-point lead here early in Calgary. Kevin Glenn 4-1 on the season for the Calgary Stampeders.
4-0 on Labor Day. As a member of the Bombers back in 2004, back-to-back years in 09 and 10. Blowout games against Toronto in that big rivalry that'll be back very shortly. And in 2012, last year, real good game last year between Edmonton and Calgary. He was the starter in that one as well.
Double tight ends hit, and the ball is leveled. What a huge hit that was on the Calgary receiver by the veteran Chris Thompson.
It's Labor Day. Gotta be.
See if that kind of hit can fire up an Eskimo team that's been a little slow to the gate. Loss of 3, 2nd and 13. Short drop, pressure on. Glenn is dropped. Down he goes, and Oramacion has the sack. And an Eskimo defense that's underachieved in the opening 8 games comes up with a big series.
Donnie O, he gets there, and the Calgary Stampeders just have too many to block. You're going to see TJ Hills involved as well. He comes from the linebacking core to the right of your screen, as does Rennie Curran. So now the offensive line up front trying to figure out who they take, and Donnie O gets home.
3rd sack of the year for Oramacion. Rob Maver to boot. And back to field it is Purvis, or check that, Joe Burnett. And Burnett is ambushed right back at the 35-yard line. Let's join Jermaine Franklin.
Chris, it's been well documented that Mike Riley has taken more than his fair share of big hits this season. Now, when I asked Riley about it, he said that he doesn't mind the contact, and as a matter of fact, it fires him up a little bit. Now, Riley also said that if you see him scrambling or running with the ball, you will never see him slide. Many think that sliding is an effective way of protecting the player, but Riley is not in that camp. He believes that sliding could leave a player even more vulnerable.
The coach and Mike Riley disagree on that topic. Here's Riley with the play action fake, rolling, looking downfield for Kuhorn, and it's intercepted. Fred Bennett comes up with it. And Bennett striding back across midfield with a big return. And it's Mike Riley who has to make the tackle. 2nd interception of the year for Fred Bennett on the corner for Calgary.
A little bit of hand fighting down the field between he and Nate Kuhorn, but I think this was fair to let go. And Riley just hoping that his receiver can win this battle at the top of the route. Bennett wins it. 2nd game in a row that Fred Bennett has caused a turnover. Last week it was a forced fumble. This week he gets the pick.
That's one for Fred Jr., celebrating the birth of his son last week. And right back to work, Kevin Glenn in the offense. John Cornish inside. Ted Laurent with early contact. And Joe Burnett finishing him off.
So far, the Calgary Stampeders have taken all the momentum early in this game. That drive that was penalty aided to start things for Kevin Glenn. One with an offside, one with a pass interference. They get the first score, and since then, the field's been slanted their way in a big way because of turnovers, good field position, defensive play.
Cornish with 5, 2nd and 5. Here comes the pressure over the middle. It goes, and it's Will Price down inside the 10, diving. Is he in? Touchdown. Well, he lobbied to get into the lineup, and he shows you that there's nothing wrong with a sore ankle.
Boy, does he ever. This is all about straight speed. And the only question I'm sure Edmonton fans have right now is, did he get into the end zone right at the corner of the cone? Chased down there by Eric Samuels. And it looked like that ball crossed the plane before he went out of bounds. Absolutely. Inside the cone, touchdown, Calgary.
Great lunge by Price. 2nd touchdown of the year. Sprained ankle a couple of weeks ago. They thought he'd be out another week. And he kept lobbing this week to get in the lineup, but finally John Hufnagel relented and turned out to be the right decision.
Didn't get a chance to play in the Labor Day game last year. And you know that was gnawing at him. And he wanted to get into the lineup, and John Hufnagel, even this week, even though he took the majority of the reps, John Hufnagel was watching him closely to see if he was favoring the ankle. Did he have that explosive getaway speed? And boy, does he ever. Watch as he gets the corner, outruns the angle of every Edmonton defender.
Outran the angle of Joe Burnett, was trying to track him.
Here comes the Jets.
Ended last year with a flourish, 5 touchdowns in his last 6 games. Hasn't been in high gear yet this year, but he was on that play.
Hey, what's up, baby? What's Stamps, baby? Happy Labor Day. Hey, you ain't done, baby. Let's go.
So 17 makes it 17-0. And the Eskimos somehow have to stop the bleeding. Purvis up across the 20. Shoots through. And now down the sidelines, Paredes has to upend him near midfield. There is a flag at about the 36-yard line. Would have been a 56-yard return.
Holding. Edmonton. 10-yard penalty. First down.
Didn't get a number, but another blow for Kavis Reed's crew. Has to try and find an answer here in a hurry. That would have given him a little spark. The big return negated by penalty.
Kavis Reed's team has not scored a first-quarter touchdown since week 2. And they need something here late in the opening quarter. Riley rolls into the flat, and it's caught by Marcus Henry. Keon Raymond watching him, and a short gain as they mark it just beyond the 28-yard line. We'll call it 2.
Short gain, but we may have seen something on that play. They're trying to go into hurry up here to try and get maybe a little rhythm before the end of the quarter. Try and maybe see if the Calgary Stampeders will simplify their defensive looks a little bit.
Flags are still. The wind is not an issue here at McMahon today. 2nd and 8. Riley hit again, and this one is intercepted. Jonathan Heffney comes up with it. Are they ruling incomplete? I believe they're calling it hit the turf. Heffney wants a challenge flag. And Mike Riley punished as he delivered the football.
Junior Turner is going to be in the throwing lane for Mike Riley, and that does not allow him to step into this throw. So when he can't step into it, watch 23 come out and around inside pass rush. He can't step into the throw, so it sails high on him. And when it does, Jonathan Hefney, who's been taking some reps at safety during the week, looked like he scooped underneath that.
And we are going to get a challenge flag as they halt play here. We'll take another look, but Hefty came up believing he had made the interception. Immediately went to Coach Huffnagel for the challenge, and the Stampeders have thrown the challenge flag.
You know, he looked like he had both arms underneath the football. It's whether or not the tip of the ball touched the turf in between those arms. But there's no question when Hefney got up, he was convinced he had made the catch. He started
Calgary
asking.
is challenging the ruling of an incomplete pass on the play. We'll review it.
Mike Riley only 2 interceptions in his last 3 starts. And this might be his second of this first quarter.
Well, when Junior Turner goes into that defensive line, ratio-wise, they can play Jonathan Hefney back at safety. He's been taking some reps, and really adds to the versatility of this defense. He can play that hybrid linebacker spot, along with Keon Raymond can play there. Demetrius Morley's on the line in the lineup that can play there. So can Chris Randall. That's 3 different players. And Riley, again, a couple of big hits early in this game.
Sends it downfield, and this one will roll away from Larry Taylor and out at the 26-yard line. So a good 54-yard boot by Shaw here in the late stages of this first quarter.
Kevin Glenn looks composed. He's got the experience we showed you on Labor Day. He understands the intensity. He talked yesterday about maintaining that focus throughout the game. There's a lot of emotions in this game. It gets heated, it gets physical. It's up to the quarterback just to stay calm, keep executing that offense.
Under 250 yards passing in each of his games this year, but off to a very crisp start here. And a direct snap goes to Cornish. Check that. John Cornish up to the 30-yard line.
You know, Kevin Glenn's close to moving into the top 10 all-time in passing yards in CFL history, and he should do that if he stays healthy and plays this year. Of the top 10 guys, when you think of completion percentage, of those top 10 guys yardage-wise, Ricky Ray and AC are 1 and 2 in completion percentage. Kevin Glenn would be 3. You know, and again, a guy that has been so under the radar throughout his career, so close to winning a championship as the starting quarterback for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in '07 when he threw for over 5,000 yards that year. And what a fit here in Calgary. I mentioned off the top, he started 20 games for this team, and they've won 14 of them. Where would they be without Kevin Glenn?
Best insurance policy in the Canadian Football League, and one of the offensive linemen, John Gott, the left guard, has been shaken up, and he's getting attention to his left knee. Stampeders making a change on the right side. On right guard, Spencer Wilson in today. They've lost Dimitri Sumpas with a concussion, and his replacement, Jermichael Dean, a shoulder injury. So it's Spencer Wilson at right guard, and now the left guard John Gott's been hobbled.
The backup to the backup, and now Gott making his way to the bench.
It's a little weight on it.
Billy Peach out of Jacksonville was added this week to the active roster just in case this happened. And there he is.
Native of St. John's, Newfoundland, grew up in Kingston. And so both he and Wilson are in. Marcus Howard in pursuit. Glenn gets it away and has a completion to Brad Sinopoli, tossed out at midfield. But a big first down as Kevin Glenn keeps the chains moving. It's a 24-yard completion to Brad Sinopoli.
Well, first of all, it's a nice job by Kevin Glenn getting outside, throwing on the run. But I ought to show you before we get there, John Cornish on the play action pays the price here to try and sell it. Watch number 9 fake it up the middle, and he's going to take a hit right there. Gets knocked down to pay the price to buy his quarterback a little bit of time outside, and they move the launch point for Kevin Glenn.
Now Glenn has gone to the sidelines. Go Levi Mitchell in to hand off, and Eskimo defense has been good against the run so far. That's the final play of the opening quarter. All Stampeders in the opening 15 minutes. Let's check the numbers through 15 minutes. The usual conventional wisdom, if you stop John Cornish, you've got a good chance, and they did that, but...
Yeah, they did that. Edmonton had stopped the run game. Cornish only had 11 yards, but then Kevin Glenn went to work. A couple of early catches to Marquay McDaniel, I think, got things started. He had over 30 yards, 2 catches on the first series, and then the big throw underneath to Maurice Price. And that passing game looks real good. The Edmonton Eskimos right now have to find a way to flop the field. They're playing in their end.
Fred Bennett had an interception that helped the momentum stay with Calgary. Mike Riley's had a lot of heat. Do you see some nerve there that we haven't seen from Kevin Glenn?
Well, I see a little bit of nerves. He's also been taking so many hits that they can, the Edmonton coaching staff can help him with a little screen draw, get the running game going. He just can't stand back there and be a target all game long, or it's going to be a long one.
Kevin Glenn checks back in. It's second and nearly a full 10, and here's Cornish, and he gets taken down by TJ Hill short of the first down.
Well, I like the variety in the play calling in that on a second and long, Dave Dickinson will go to John Cornish. He has a lot of confidence in his running game, confidence in Cornish. He should be fresh. He needs probably to get a little of the rust off from missing a week, but we'll see more of John Cornish as the game goes on. He's also moving the launch point for Kevin Glenn. Saw that on the last rollout.
Rob Maver will kick to Kerry Koch. Maver, a brilliant punting game against the Argos. Able to pit the Argos a couple of times. Not here, though, as Koch fields it. And the line drive kick is returned to the 19-yard line. Talked about Mike Riley taking punishment last week against Saskatchewan. Said it took him 3 days before he wasn't too sore to really get back on the field, and I'm sure he's sore after that first quarter.
And those aren't from getting chased down from behind or hit just, you know, half on the side of his body. Those are right in his grill as he tries to step into the throw.
Leading to one interception, nearly a second. Hand off to White, and John White up near the 25.
And a little success there to John White will help him immensely because he gets into second and more manageable situations. Now he can go to quick game to move the chains. Doesn't have to stand back there deep in the shotgun in the pocket. Take the snap and become a target. Get the ball out of his hands. Only needs 6-7 yards to move the chains and keep the drive alive.
One thing the Eskimos have done in the last 3 weeks is the big play. 13 30-yard passing plays or more. A pass for Koch, and he's going to get run out by Keon Raymond, and that'll draw a flag. So a drive extender on a penalty that Raymond didn't have to take.
No, he didn't. You know, and I thought he was showing composure as he just basically put both hands on the back of Kerry Koch and rode him to the sideline, and then gave him a little shove right at the end of it. And because Koch went into the
Major foul, unnecessary roughness, Calgary number 25. 15 yards from the end of the play. First down.
You know, I know the fans don't like this one here in Calgary, but you know, why did Keon Raymond have to do this? He has Kerry Koch out of bounds. Now just leave him. Don't give him that little shove into the message boards.
Moves the football up to the 40. Riley will roll near side. Marcus Henry drops it. Couple of drops for the Eskimos. Marcus Henry, who's been a reliable guy, especially of late, with 8 catches, 176 yards in the last couple of weeks for Edmonton.
A drop, but it is a sign that the Edmonton coaching staff is getting Mike Riley out and outside, get him to throw on the run a little bit with the option to throw or run the football.
Second and 10. Four receivers wide side. He won't get it up. Charleston Hughes and Cordero Law lead at the quarterback.
Well, they're having big success. It's either Cordero Law or Charleston Hughes that comes out and around. And they start out again at that end spot and watch them come around. They crisscross as they both get there, and then it's a race between 39 and 49. Charleston Hughes got him low. Cordero Law's got him high.
So again, shot a boot. And it will be McDaniel fielding it, and he slices through up to midfield. On the return, it's a 17-yard punt return from Markway McDaniel.
Hello, Canada. I'm Charleston Hughes from the Calgary Stampeders, and you're watching the Labor Day Classic on TSN.
Boo! Kevin Glenn under 1,200 yards from the top 10 all-time passing list in the CFL. With more, here again, Jermaine Franklin.
Chris, last year when Kevin Glenn was told how close he was to passing Dieter Brock on the all-time passing list, he had no clue. But the accomplishment meant so much to him because he is a former Blue Bomber quarterback. Now this time, we let him know just how close he was to cracking the top 10 again. He was completely surprised. The point is, not only does Glenn fly under the radar from CFL players and fans alike, he flies under his own radar as well.
Pretty humble guy, but was excited about that, and it should be noted that the 10 guys ahead of them are either in the Hall of Fame or are surefire Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
That's a great point, and Kevin Glenn not throwing an interception in 3 straight games.
Second and 10. Eskimos showing pressure. Glenn ducks away. On a roll. Flag comes down. And Kevin Glenn, a rear run down the sidelines, and would have the first down. Let's see if this is coming back.
I think it is. Looks like it's going to be holding Calgary, but Kevin Glenn avoids the pressure. I thought it was Eric Samuels coming off the edge. And
holding, Calgary number 50. 10-yard penalty. Pete, second down.
That's Spencer Wilson. Kevin Glenn's run the football only 6 times so far this year for 35. That would have been his longest run of the season.
You know, he doesn't run a lot, and he doesn't escape wide a lot. But what Kevin Glenn does very well is step up in the pocket to deliver a pass down the field. He'll find a little lane, shuffle to it, step up, and make those big plays from there.
Well, he's converted some second and longs. What's he got on second and 20? Time to throw underneath, and that one, no Stampeder receiver in the area. Closest man to it was ball hawk Chris Thompson.
And about 3 or 4 of his teammates were closing fast. I didn't see a black/red jersey anywhere in the vicinity, and look at great car here. He goes up the field, and it looks like he zigs instead of zags. And Kevin Glenn thought he was turning out. Chris Thompson had a shot at it.
Let him go!
Here's Neighbor. Joe Burnett is back. The Eskimo 20, a sidestep, and nowhere to go. Deron Mayo downfield along with Keenan McDougal on the special team tackle. Without Ricky Ray and Anthony Calvillo, the young guns have to step up. Zach Collaros, Tanner Marsh. Mike Riley trying to step up here, looks for Stamps and overthrows the intended target.
Not surprised he's trying to get the Stamps. After that first drop early in the game, Stamps has not seen the football. 0 catches so far this afternoon, and once again, you're going to see Mike Riley here. Watch him take a hit out of the shotgun, even though they bring in a couple of guys to help. Calvin McCarty, they leave John White in to try and max protect. Didn't matter. Still got a hit on the quarterback, Calgary defense.
Charleston Hughes saying yesterday, Mike Riley's the toughest quarterback in the CFL based on what he's seen. There's Riley on a roll. And that throw nearly picked off. Jamar Wall was in the firing line, but went through his hands incomplete.
Yeah, just off on the throw. Mike Riley comes outside. And this is the second time now, in order to avoid some of this pressure we've seen Riley take on early in this game. This is a good idea to get him out there. He just has to be a little more accurate on the throw. He's had a couple that have been just off the mark. Close to intercepted there.
3 2-and-outs in the game for the Eskimos, who've only had 7 in the last 2 weeks. Shaw blasts a beauty. Taylor backpedals to the 24. Flags fly as Larry Taylor held in check once again. It's one area the Stamps are looking for better production. 62-yard boot by Shaw.
All indications are that this penalty was going to go against Calgary and push them back. They're talking, or have been talking to the Edmonton Eskimos about options.
Holding Calgary number 16. That penalty's declined. Illegal block. Calgary number 48. The 10-yard penalty. First down.
So Yannick Carter called a couple of penalties on the play. 20-yard line for the Stamps on offense when they return. Check.
2-1 Calgary in this one this afternoon. And right now the CFL head offices are giving both sacks to Cordero Law. It was a race on one of them. The Calgary Stampeders with Charleston Hughes.
So if that stands, Law with back-to-back 2-sack games, 7 on the year, and a lot of hurries and pressures to boot. Kevin Glenn back to work. Crosser. And Rob Cote has a catch. 14 different Stampeders have caught passes this year, and Rob Cote, the local product, has his sixth catch of the year.
Well, there's 2 crossers here, one by Jabari Arthur from right to left. He almost sets up the picks for Rob Cote to come underneath all of that, and TJ Hill's forced to bubble around it all and can't get there in time to stop the play.
2nd and 3, flag down, and Cornish will pound for the first down pending the penalty. Cornish, who sat out last week resting a leg problem. Reported as a Charlie horse. John saying a little different than that, but
offside. Edmonton number 99. That penalty's declined. First down.
Nikos Brown, newcomer to the Eskimos defensive line, is called on the offside. He'll see some duty today. Justin Capucati, the starter at that spot, in place of the injured Odell Willis. So Nikos Brown play one game in Toronto, early in the year before being released. Back into the hands of Cornish, and he's met up in the hole and pushed back.
Well, clearly this was the focus of the Edmonton defensive game plan, is to make sure that they try and have eyes and hats on John Cornish. Greg Marshall's defensive coordinator knows what damage he can do. In fact, when this running game in Calgary gets going, it basically guarantees victory. So Greg Marshall's focus to stop the run has been successful, and Glenn's gone to the air to beat him so far.
Now they're second and long. Glenn runs out of time. A little sidearm with submarine to get it to Cornish, who's dropped at the 45. That'll be a yard short of the first down, and Kevin Glenn comes up limping.
Yeah, he comes up limping badly, and my first thought was, did John Cornish catch this? He had to go down low to get it. It's almost as Glenn was getting stepped on by his own lineman, Stanley Bryant. He did keep it clean off the turf. He's about a yard short. They're going to send on the punt team, but more concern for Calgary is this. Old Levi Mitchell's in the number 2 spot.
Didn't finish last week after taking a headshot from Khalif Mitchell. And Kevin Glenn to the sidelines to get looked at. Joe Burnett back. And here is Burnett bursting through. Pass Paredes shifting gears. And he is still going down inside the 15. Out of gas as he hot-footed downfield ahead of Duran Mayo, who finally caught him from behind. It's 77 yards and a much-needed big play on specials for the Eskimos.
The Edmonton Eskimos needed a play to flop the field. They just got it from Joe Burnett on a nice punt return. Bobs and weaves his way through the initial wave of tacklers and does a nice job of switching the ball from the right hand to the left. And then just as looking at his fuel tank, and it's on empty. But a big play. Can they capitalize?
Second longest kick return for the Eskimos this year. Gary Koch had an 81-yard punt return touchdown in Montreal. First down at the Calgary 13. Double tight ends. Play action fake. Looking for Stamps in the corner. He turned one way and the ball was on the other side.
Residual effects from the hits early in this game on Mike Riley. I think he threw that well before Fred Stamps had got to the route where he wanted to make his break. It just looks like Riley now, because of those early hits, is starting to get rid of that football a lot quicker before he wants to. He can feel the pressure around him.
Eskimos have -1 net yards offense. Looking at 2nd and 10. Open man, got a reception, and Marcus Henry trying to reach for the first down. Keon Raymond there with the tackle, and this will be close.
Real close. He had a great conversation with Kavis Reed yesterday about when he will bring his short yardage team in with Kerry Joseph. If, in fact, they are close enough to get the first down, they're going to measure it. It's that close. He said around the 3-yard line he would stay with Mike Riley, be inside the 3, that we may see Kerry Joseph if they get the first down, but they're short now. So
third down.
It would be 3rd down, less than a yard.
Okay, now on 3rd down, that would change the scenario. And Kerry Joseph will come in. Had some issues the last couple of weeks in short yardage.
So he said 5 yards. Riley stays inside the 3, Joseph, but in this case, they're more concerned about the first down.
Right.
Fred Pettit also in on that tackle that forces the Eskimos into this. 3 for 3 on 3rd and 1 or less. Joseph bubbles one way, but he'll get it.
Wow, it's always gutsy. that is always gutsy and dangerous to take the ball in short yardage when you need inside of a yard, and instead of going that way, you go this way. Any type of penetration from the Calgary defensive line at the right spot eliminates that play, but Kerry Joseph got there.
Justin Phillips, Jawan Simpson keep him out of the end zone, but now first and goal, and the Elephant team with Joseph stays on. Just outside the 1-yard line. Joseph gonna go right again. Touchdown. So the Eskimos hit pay dirt after that big punt return by Joe Burnett.
Plays that give your team a little hope, and Joe Burnett sets this up. Kerry Joseph, quarterback sweep right with lead blockers including John White and Calvin McCarty. Touchdown. Boy, do they need that.
Defensive tackle Donnie Oramas. Sion also leading the way for Joseph to get in. Third touchdown of the year for Kerry Joseph, and the Eskimos are on the board. Under 5 to go here in the first half.
Yeah, a couple of backs leading the way, but you got to get the seal of the inside to get the quarterback sweep. And it looked to me like it was Simeon Rotier was one of them, but if you don't seal this area here with your offensive line, then Kerry Joseph can't get out in behind those lead blocks by John White and Calvin McCarty, but he gets the big blocks inside. Alex Krosnick, he gets a nice block. Calvin McCarty finishes it off, but those inside, the interior, Simeon Rotier, Krosnick, Miles Mason sliding over, seal the inside, get Kerry Joseph on the corner. He can get in behind his two backs.
Kerry Joseph, the starter for the Eskimos last year in the Labor Day game, threw for over 300 yards. A lot of heat on him after last week when he fumbled coming in down around the goal line. Lost yardage. Then Mike Riley came back and threw the interception to Dwight Anderson, but was a squandered opportunity.
Now for Calgary, Chris, which quarterback do we see? Kevin Glenn limped off, and it looks like we may see Bo Levi Mitchell.
Shaw will bounce it downfield. Taylor vacuums it up at the 12. Flags fly once again as Larry Taylor is brought down at the 34. Chris Robocumba. Here comes Bo Levi Mitchell, one of the young guns. That brilliant performance against Winnipeg in his start, 29 of 33 for 376. In a game against the Bombers and 3 touchdown passes.
Red dog. Great feature in our pregame show you can see on tsn.ca.
Legal block. Calgary number 24. 10-yard penalty. First down.
That's Keenan McDougall off the injury list. His first game of the year. And take another look at what happened to Kevin Glenn.
Yeah, the feature on all 3 quarterbacks. But here's what happened on the last series to Glenn. And I thought it was Stanley Bryant who was blocking. It may have even been the inside Brett Jones.
A friendly fire brings Glenn to the sidelines, and the Texas gunslinger comes in. And he comes out throwing, and that pass busted up by Burnett as they look for Price on the sidelines.
Well, he took full advantage, as you mentioned, Chris, of his opportunity when he started. Well over 300 yards passing, completing over 74% of his passes when he's on the football field. So all 3 have contributed and chipped in. They've had their chance to play.
All 3 quarterbacks for the Stampeders with at least 5 touchdown passes on the year. Here's a big play, 2nd and 10 as the Eskimos try and create momentum. Mitchell in trouble, and he'll get dropped. That's Justin Capicotti, the Simon Fraser University product, with the sack.
Gets a chance to play. Odell Willis out of the lineup, and Capicotti, the 2nd and long, gets a little help from the secondary because this one takes a little bit of time to develop, but he does get there. A little inside stunt working with Ted Laurent, And Bull Levi Mitchell doesn't like what he sees downfield with coverage. And Capicotti gets a chance. SFU starts their schedule September 7th in Humboldt State.
Big day of CIS football on Labor Day back east. Rob Haber, the product of Guelph, with the boot, and here's Kerry Cope. Flag down as you saw the block in front of Cope. Is that Donovan Richard or Devontae Purvis?
It looked like Purvis was running with him. And Cavis Reed explaining to the newcomer to the lineup, if you see his name tag, don't touch him.
Boy, that takes away great field position. It would have been at least the 50. But the officials conferring there might be more than one to sort out here.
You take a look at this game coming in, you would think the Edmonton defense needed to stop Cornish. They've done that.
Legal block. Edmonton number 20. 10-yard penalty. First down.
And the Calgary defense coming in, you got to think that their game plan would have been to try and limit the production of Fred Stamps. No catches for Stamps so far this afternoon. So mission accomplished as far as the game plan goes coming in. Now you have to make adjustments on the fly.
Final play before the 3-minute warning. Eskimos will start after the penalty at their 37. And off White has room off that right side and a first down run. Juwan Simpson comes across to make the tackle, but White's best rush of the game. Eskimos with a little momentum. This is Our League is brought to you by Nissan. We're at McMahon Stadium, also home of the Calgary Dinos, and there are 5 Dinos graduates in the game. Matt Walter, Dan Fender-Kyle, there's Anthony Parker, and on the Eskimos, Nate Kuhorn, and center Alex Krosnick, all graduating from a Dinos program that really has become one of the great feeder systems to the Canadian Football League. More on Matt Walter and Labor Day coming up, but right now the Eskimos are a first down at the 47-yard line after the White run. Riley out of time again. Juwan Simpson on the blitz gets home.
Well, John White is a good blocker, Chris, as you mentioned, but he had too many to handle, and he took the right guy. So this is just a running back stepping up to take the most dangerous, which is the defensive lineman. Now, you can't block them all. So John White got his man, and the free one was Juwan Simpson.
Loss of 9, second and 19. Fake and the option. Riley stumbles as he was tripped up by Junior Turner with a little room ahead of him, and back to the 47, which will make it 3rd and 10.
Not a bad call, though, really. I mean, you don't want to force a mistake at this part of the field, so Mike Riley is just trying to keep that field position, give his defense a little bit more help, give him a rest on the sideline for a few plays, and then some may think a little conservative, down by 10, but there's lots of football to be played here.
Grant Shaw's had a good first half. His punt average last week, 51.6, and he's boomed a few today, and just over 48 yards so far in this game as he tries to launch another. This one not as deep, and Taylor at his 20. Larry Taylor is dropped at the 28-yard line. Well, we talked about Matt Walter, a Calgary kid, Calgary high school star, the all-time leading rusher with the Dinos. And Labor Day, last year, his first Canadian Football League touchdown. That's the way to score your first, isn't it? Said he was a kid watching Jeff Garcia in the stands back in the 90s when Garcia had that 6-touchdown game you referenced off the top of the show.
Yeah, 95, awesome game for Garcia. Really catapulted him into star status.
So how many are watching in the stands today that we might one day watch on the field? Bo Levi Mitchell got it through that tight window to Markway McDaniel and somehow threads the needle for the Stamps' most dangerous receiver so far.
Yeah, Joe Burnett was right there, and he's made that big play on the returns. Almost had a pick there as he did thread it through. Give Bo Levi Mitchell one thing. He's not afraid to gun it in there. This is just a little curl-off play action, but look how close Joe Burnett was.
Pick 6 against Kevin Glenn for Burnett last year in this Labor Day game. There's Mitchell's throw, and Jabari Arthur can't bring it down as Chris Thompson, physical first half, made sure he was separated from the football.
That's a big down here. You know, if the Edmonton Eskimos defensively get in this second and long situation, can get off the field. Mike Riley have a little bit of time. It's over a minute to try and get this a little bit closer. Chris Thompson's been physical. That's a second big hit.
Second and 10 for Bo Levi Mitchell. Pressure on again, and for the second time they get to Mitchell and drop him for a loss. Rennie Curran fired up, the man replacing J.C. Sherritt.
Well, it's a nice stunt between two linebackers, Chris. Rennie Curran and Damaso Munoz. One's there, and there's Munoz here. And watch how they're just going to crisscross like that. And because of that change-up, Munoz is going to get there. 35 underneath. Munoz comes around, is right there when Bo Levi Mitchell tries to step up and throw.
So Munoz, one of the tackle leaders on the year, gets his first sack. The Eskimos will get the football back here with over a minute to go. Joe Burnett, who set up the touchdown with a good return, gets ambushed at the 30. Well, we're 1:11 away. GMC live at the half. Dave Jock, Matt, and Schultze will check in, get their Labor Day thoughts, including the punishment that Mike Riley is taking again today. And you see him uncomfortable even in the huddle, don't you?
Oh, no question. He keeps trying to stretch and make sure that everything's working.
Said he was too sore to really be on the field for 3 days. The good news was it was the non-throwing side of his body. Throws this one, and it's off the fingertips of Kerry Coke, incomplete.
It just really looks like every time he comes out there that Mike Riley's just sort of doing a little inventory. Okay, elbow's okay, not bad, a little sore. I got some tape on the left one. Shoulder feels okay. Yeah, I can still throw. He's going through the checklist to make sure that it's all good. They have been rolling him out a little bit more in the second quarter to get him away from pressure.
Second and 10. 6 receivers out. Has some time. But a late flag here as the ball seemed to slip out of his hands. Incomplete. And the indication.
Major foul. Roughing the passer. Calgary number 42. 15-yard penalty. First down.
It is against Calgary, and it is against Duron Mayo, the weak side linebacker. Ball batted down by DeMonte Bolden. Let's see the foul. Eskimos have the ball at the 45, first down. Here comes the heat again, but Riley has time, up for grabs. Bennett's got another. Fred Bennett double dips with his second interception, fumbles the football, and who's got it? I think the Eskimos got it back. And is it Mike Riley at the bottom of that pile?
Well, Riley hustled because he threw it into coverage.
And unbelievably, number 13
got it back.
Decided he'd take another hit to get the ball back.
Yeah, I got to go get that one back because that was my decision. That wasn't the right one.
Ruling on the field was an interception, a fumble, but was recovered by Edmonton. Therefore, it's Edmonton 1st and 10. 1st and 10.
See, Fred Bennett just falls off his man underneath the corner route to Fred Stamps. And
Gary Cope dislodged the football. Fans here thought Bennett was down. Didn't look like it on our replay, but you hear the reaction. Here's Shamad Chambers with his first catch, and he gets spun around at the 48. You've seen a little more confidence from Shamad Chambers in the last couple of weeks. 6 catches in his last 2 starts.
Yeah, well, he made the big one against Toronto. I think that was that big play that could get you that next step, and that was a touchdown catch in coverage. Lost by 3 points to the Toronto Argonauts. You look at this team's losses over the last few weeks. Saskatchewan by 3, Toronto by 3, 1 point loss to Hamilton. Shamad Chambers can become that 800 to 1,000-yard receiver along with Fred Stamps, Nate Kuhorn, Darius Bowman close to returning, and a sprinkle in of Marcus Henry. All of a sudden, this Edmonton receiving corps looks pretty good.
Darius Bowman over 1,000 yards in his last full season, and he's been taking reps while on the 9 game for the last few weeks. Expected to be in the lineup for game number 10, which is on Friday. Brett Bennett was shaken up, so Bennett was just taking a break while another Stampeder was getting attention. That was why the delay, but Bennett was bent over and thought it was him that they had halted play for, but it was Jamar Wall who is out of the lineup.
Jamar Wall kind of bent behind him, the right leg.
Second down, Riley looks one way, another, directing traffic and letting it go downfield. And a real battle there between Kuhorn and Darius Brooks. And now Kuhorn slow to get up. Brooks in his hip pocket.
Yeah, Brooks just would not give up. Darius Brooks stays with them now. Kuhorn can help himself if he keeps just chugging his arms and running. Oh, excuse me, Chris Randall. Chris Randall. It's away with a little grab on the jersey. There's another receiver that has really progressed this year. Nate Kuhorn, who Davis Reed told me yesterday is the hardest working player on his football team.
Second and 10. Riley underneath, and McCarty can't make the catch. Ball delivered low under pressure again.
That pressure is paying off from the Calgary defense, because that's about the 4th time in this first half that Riley has had an open receiver in what is a real makeable throw, and he's just been off target enough that they can't handle it. And that's the residual effects of the early hits.
Well, Mike Riley has not been made comfortable here today, and this doesn't look 100%, and no surprise. Treatment he's gotten the last couple of weeks. Larry Taylor, and he hits the deck as the boom was being lowered by Ryan King. So 5 seconds to burn off the clock as old Levi Mitchell comes back to finish up this first half.
Such a big difference when you're starting a game and taking all the practice reps during the week than when you come off the bench. And remember Zach Collaros, who had in Toronto, had the big game when he started, beat the BC Lions. When he came off the bench for Ricky Ray against Calgary, didn't look the same. Bo Levi Mitchell's going through that same thing right now.
That's it, that's it, that's it. Good job.
So they let the clock drain, and Glenn Johnson says that's the half. Great start for the Stampeders. Late touchdown by the Eskimos. 10-point Calgary lead as we send it to Dave Randall.
Thanks, Chris. 17-7 is the score. In the studio with Paul LaPolice, and time for the GMC Coach's Playbook. In the pregame show, your main topic was protecting Mike Riley. It is not happening once again tonight. He's going to be lucky to get through this game. Show us exactly where the breakdowns are.
Yeah, he had some very early breakdowns in communication, which is it's got to be frustrating as a coach and also for your quarterback. This first one, okay, you're going to have a twist by the defensive line of the Calgary Stampeders. What's the defensive end actually flips around and comes into the front side A gap. The center has got to push over, and the guard's got to push him over to take that. Rotier can help, but that's not his responsibility. It's got to be handled by the backside guys. This next one, I believe it's the tailback has got to take the linebacker on his side of the line of scrimmage. The line's going to the other one. He's got to take the free linebacker right in his face. John White's got to do a better job of that. This last one here, they're building a wall to the left, so they're all sliding to the left here. They should expect inside help. Krosnick here does not help his left guard and allows a player to come free inside in an A gap. You can't make these mistakes, Dave. It's gonna you can't sustain any drives.
No, Glenn Suter's talked about it. I was talking about it with Matt Dunnigan watching the game. The strength in some of his passes now seemingly is coming down. So what do they need to do in terms of adjustments to protect him further?
You know, I'd like to simplify some of your protections. Put two backs in the backfield, or I saw him do some sprint out at times to get the ball outside on the edge, but they certainly got to give him more time or get the ball out of their hands quicker.
Paul LaPolice in the GMC Coach's Playbook. One thing we do know, all players realize it's a physical matchup when the Edmonton Eskimos and the Calgary Stampeders meet in the Labor Day Classic, and it's a 10-point lead for the Stamps at home. Back to our CFL on TSN studios. Chris Schultz, Matt Dunnigan, Jock Climby, 17-7 for the Calgary Stampeders over the Edmonton Eskimos. It appears as though, we'll have to wait and see, but Kevin Glenn left in that second quarter, favoring his left leg. So Bo Levi Mitchell comes in, Matty, 23 years of age. We've seen him look impressive already this season, but this is a different ball of wax, as you well know. You've talked to this guy, you know him. Are you concerned if you're a Stamps fan?
No, not at all. I just think this kid's got too much of leadership qualities in game to be derailed from what he does well, and that's manage a football game. Whether he's gotten the reps during the course of the week in practice or whether he's coming in a spot position like he is now. But he's coming in a dogfight. We see Mike Riley out there. He's fighting like a dog. I guarantee it, this kid has that fight in him too, Bo Levi Mitchell. You look at his quarterback efficiency rating, 129.3. Kid's on fire. 5 touchdowns to 0 interceptions. He's going to have to play clean. And if he's able to do that throughout the course of the second half, it's huge for the Calgary Stampeders, because last year when the Stampeders went on to beat the Edmonton Eskimos, they went on a 14-4 run, Schultz, and the Edmonton Eskimos since then have been 3-15. So you win this game, it can propel you to big heights, and I believe Bo Levi Mitchell's capable of doing that.
You know, Matty, we still have a competitive game, but for the Edmonton Eskimos, priority number one, I want to elaborate on what Coach Police was talking about. You know, Rick Campbell's been in this league a long time, and when he got the starting roster ready for the game, he noticed inexperience at the left guard, inexperience at the center, and inexperience at the running back. He's done a masterful job of confusing them mentally. So what do you do at halftime? I've been in this position. The worst thing that can happen is the offensive line coach loses his temper. He says, guys, you got to be more physical. You got to man up. You got to play with this. No. You simplify. You sit them down and you say, we're going to run 3 protections. This protection, that protection, and that protection. Forget about the slide stuff. Don't worry about being complicated. You take that guy, you take that guy, and you take that guy no matter what. And if you do that, then you can get physical. But right now, that interior game, the absence of the ability to protect your quarterback is everything. If they protect that quarterback, Edmonton can get back in the game.
The Edmonton Eskimos are really the only team in the league that has not really had to rely on any kind of backup. Crompton's probably warming up. You thought you saw him warming up. We'll have to see if we see him at all. And, of course, they got Kerry Joseph. I want to shift gears. Let's go back to the Labor Day Classic from yesterday in front of the largest crowd of the season in the CFL, just shy of 45,000. This is early fourth quarter. Justin Goltz sees some room and takes it 46 yards into the end zone. His 3rd career start. It's a 6-point game, and Justin's feeling pretty good about himself at this point. And then he went on to throw 2 interceptions, and the Riders made him pay for that. This is the second of 2 touchdowns on the day for G. Roy Simon. His best day as a Rider. Darian Durant, 310 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. His first interception of the season, but it doesn't matter to him because the Riders are 8-1 for the first time in their 103-year history.
Yeah, it was quite a performance by them. And I thought what was really impressive was just how methodical they were throughout that football game. Good teams have a tendency to do that. Things don't go well for you early, you stay the course, and that's exactly what they did, you know. And 172-81 is what the Saskatchewan Roughriders have outscored their opponents in the second half. What does that tell you? That tells you that this football team is capable of just making adjustments at halftime and then dominating their opponent in the second half. Now, the only thing that didn't go right for the Saskatchewan Roughriders was Darren Durant having his first interception after the streak ended at 8 games. Now, I thought Darren Durant's comments were very interesting after the game. He said, you know what, at least I did throw an interception by throwing a ball straight in the defensive back's chest, which is what he had a tendency to do in past years. It was a tip ball, great defense. That's why they had the turnover. He wasn't fazed in the least by it, and he's not bothered by it right now.
I can tell you this. What makes that football team so good offensively is their balance. Corey Sheets, obviously best running back in the league right now. Arguably maybe John Cornish. But you talk about the Edmonton Eskimos and bridging the gap here with the game we're watching. Their lack of running game is ugly right now. It's glaring, and I think that'll help out the offensive line up front, Schultz, if they can get that going. It's going to be huge for them in the second half.
I love Schultz's analysis. They're going to go to this protection and that protection. You take this guy, and you take that guy. And sometimes it's just a simple game. Maurice Price made it look simple. That is the touchdown that made it 17-0. It's 17-7 at the half. 17-7.
A lot of talk about the Edmonton offensive line not protecting Mike Riley. Why don't you help the big boys out? Let John White get the football. Give him a lot of these. Those are footballs. Give him the ball as much as you possibly can. And I'd do the same thing if I was Bo Levi Mitchell with John Cornish over here. Get that run game going.
Mo Price got the ball earlier in the game from Kevin Glenn and took it to the house. He's with Jermaine Franklin.
Mo, there was some question of whether you'd be healthy enough to play this game. I think your touchdown run answered that question. Can you explain that play and how you're feeling physically?
I'm feeling good. That play right there was it was just, you know, coming from the weak side, shallow cross all the way over to the strong side, and KG found me, and I just used my speed to get in.
Stamps offense got off to a quick start in that first quarter. However, shut out in the second quarter. What needs to happen in the second half to get back on track?
We just got to settle down. We got to, regroup, find ourselves, go back to, what's working. They're doing a good job against the run, so we got to, I guess we got to tighten up on the pass and, just settle down, execute, and finish the second half strong.
Thanks for this.
Huh?
Thanks for this.
Oh, thank you.
10-point Calgary lead as we head to the second half of the Labor Day Classic here at McMahon. But first, to the sidelines, here's Jermaine with Cephas Reed.
Again, he looks like he was laboring a little bit. Will he start the second half, and how is he physically?
Yeah, Mike is okay, and he will start the second half. We got to do a better job protecting him. Fortunately, we are getting the calls, so hopefully it'll be balance out in this half.
In terms of the offense, just 33 yards passing, 63 yards total. What needs to occur for improvement in the second half?
Protecting the quarterback and continual commitment to the run. We have to continue to run the football to keep them honest and put ourselves in second and medium situations.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Sounds like the Matt Dunnigan, Glenn Suter playbook for the second half.
That's right, and that means more John White. He had just 5 carries for 16 yards in the first half, and Cephas Reed spoke very highly of him. Doug Sams wants to get that balance in the offense, allow the offensive line to tee off and attack in the run game, get John White involved. White's got a nice resume out of college at Utah, the only back there in their history to have back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. They want to see him up around that 15 to 20 touches mark, and not close yet, not on that pace.
In fact, the lowest first half production of the season in the Canadian Football League. That ball's up for grabs, and Calgary has it. Alvin Bowen picks it up as it was allowed to sit on the turf.
Well, Josh Jesse was looking surprised. He's not a returner, but was one of those guys in the wedge coming back. A newcomer to the Edmonton lineup, Dante Purvis. Does he not realize that's a live ball once it travels 10 yards? I mean, that doesn't change in either league. It looked like he was waiting to get 5 yards like a punt return.
He must have got the punt return information and mixed it up, but that's the danger of playing a guy who you just signed on August the 20th. That's a critical mistake. And let's see if Calgary makes them pay. Bo Levi Mitchell, Marquay McDaniel the catch. And he'll be dropped at the 9-yard line by Marcel Young.
Crucial mistake and put the defense for Edmonton just in such a bind here now on the sudden change. They're supposed to be getting the ball back first in the second half, and just a brain cramp from a young player. I mean, it doesn't matter what league you play in or what side of the border. The ball covers 10 yards in a kickoff, it's live.
2nd and 2. Bo Levi Mitchell into the back of the end zone and almost picked off. Joe Burnett got a mid on it, but couldn't reel it in. Intended for Mo Price in the corner of the end zone.
You know, and Joe Burnett's playing a very good game. He's playing a great Labor Day game. Had the big return. Seen him around the ball a bunch. Steps up here. But, you know, when the Edmonton Eskimos are talking about finding what it takes to just win that little bit, it's just the little things. Could Joe Burnett have made this interception? Tough. He looked like he got just a little bit lax right as the ball arrived.
Still a win for the Eskimo defense. They hold Calgary to 3 after that misplayed kickoff, and now it's a 13-point Calgary lead.
What's up, Canada? I'm Fred Stamps from the Edmonton Eskimos.
2nd and 10, looks for Stamps again. Touchdown. Lays out, he's got it. Touchdown. And who else would get it but Fred Stamps?
And you're watching the Labor Day Classic on TSN.
Eskimos break the huddle, back to work in the second half. 33 net yards. First half, lowest production in 30 minutes of football in the Canadian Football League this year. Double tight end formation. They take it to White, and that pass batted down. Juwan Simpson off the edge.
Well, Simpson gets there. I know talking the last few weeks with Mike Riley, he has said more than once that the most important drive he believes of a football game is the first of the second half, the first of the third quarter. And now all of a sudden, quickly after that knockdown by Juwan Simpson, he's in a 2nd and long to try and get a drive going in that first drive of the second half.
Well, with today's 7 points, they only average just over 9 points in the first half of games. Riley pulls it down and lunging for the first down. Looks like they will spot him short at about the 44, and Kavis Reed has a decision to make. 3rd and less than a yard.
Tough decision for Kavis Reed based on where they are in the field. In their half of midfield in that first quarter, they were completely at a disadvantage when it comes to field position, or came to field position. And now you take a look at this. I mean, if they're inside a yard, they're going to go short yardage. Now, when they've done this in the game this afternoon, Kerry Joseph has gone east-west, not just quarterback sneak, and got away with it twice.
Well, this will be interesting as they both beef up their lines, and the chains will come out to give Kavis Reed a little more time to confirm the decision.
Know exactly how far to, and also helps the officials mark the ball back in the
want to make sure they do mark it in the same spot. So Riley to the sidelines, and Kerry Joseph, as we mentioned, down near the goal line, bubbled back a little bit, but did get the 3rd and 1 gamble there with room to spare. But nothing automatic about them. Junior Turner's moved in, and Justin Phillips and Alvin Bowen, they all stack up on that defensive line. This time, Kerry Joseph the other way, breaks one tackle, but Justin Phillips won't let him by. That was Jamar Wall who stopped Joseph in his tracks.
They tried it the third time in a row, and this time it cost Edmonton in their own end of the field. Quarterback sneak, you're inside of a yard. I know Matt Dunnigan is pulling out his hair in the studio right now. Take it, follow your center. You get the first down, move the chains. This can always happen. You just go laterally, get that pursuit from the defense. Wall, who was hurt, Jamar Wall, steps up, gets first contact.
And White missed Wall with that block. Turnover on downs, into the hands of Cornish and into the arms of Rennie Curran.
I mentioned off the top, Chris, that the Calgary Stampeders had such great success with John Cornish rushing, and the panel talked about it at halftime. And when they have that run game going, they simply win. I mean, there's 6 wins. They've rushed for, as a team, 166 yards per game. And their 2 losses, that's dropped dramatically to 66.5. Now, the majority of those yards coming from John Cornish, who's been held in check. That was just his 9th carry. Had 24 yards in the first half.
6-0 when they have rushed for 100 or better. 1-0 with a 300-yard passing game. Maurice Price has another catch. Rob Acumbo will bump him out at the 33-yard line.
Now, I agree with what Dunnigan said at halftime, too, about Bo Levi Mitchell. That, you know, he's got that confidence. He's going to work the offense, manage the game as Matt mentioned. And I won't be surprised at all to see him start to get some momentum as this game goes on. He's that kind of guy. He's got the leadership skills. He's certainly got all the throws in the book. Just a little different when you don't have as many practice reps during the week.
Calgary does give their backup some. Toronto, Montreal don't. Cornish, another first down carry for limited yardage.
Drew Tate still having some issues with his throwing arm. Keeping his helmet on and staying ready. Although I have seen Kevin Glenn, he's back on the sideline as well. Trying to walk off what looked like a knee injury.
Couple for Cornish, Markway McDaniel and Rob Cote in this offensive package for Calgary. 2nd and 8. And Mitchell looking downfield, looking for Price. Can't make the catch. And another flag flies. It's another on Robert Kumba. Let's have another look.
Had one early in the first quarter.
Forward pass interference. Edmonton, number 15. In the end zone, ball goes to the 1. First down.
You know, Chris Robacamba here, he's allowed to grab the arm quickly early in the process. Watch how Maurice Price runs his route here. Now, if Robacamba grabs his arm basically right now and gives him a little tug, that's okay. But the ball's in the air and almost arriving now. That's when he reaches out and grabs his right arm, tries to pull it away. And because the ball's on its way at that point, that will be called.
Well, it's 1st and goal down at the 1, and Bo Levi Mitchell plunging. And the officials say it'll be 2nd down. They'll mark it back at the 1. Well, Chris Robacamba in the starting role this week. Brian Williams last week was released or out of the lineup for the Eskimos this week, and it's Robacamba backed up by Ryan Hines on the corner this week. A couple of Canadians.
And their best cover man for Edmonton, Aaron Grimes, is out in the 9 game, so not much more difficult. Couple penalties have cost Edmonton.
Mitchell fumbled the football. Does he get back on it? Signal that the Eskimos may have come up with the football. That'll be now Labor Day breaking out. Just Ted Laurent and some of the offensive linemen getting into it.
So Spencer Wilson, he'll get one for unnecessary roughness. He pulled Ted Laurent off the pile. Not sure what Laurent was doing at the bottom of that pile, and I don't think anyone really wants to know.
Just keep your helmets on, boys. That's the message from the Eskimo GM who learned the hard way back about 10 years ago.
After the play, major foul, unnecessary roughness, Calgary number 50. It's a 15-yard penalty. It's third down, back 15.
So the 15 after the play was done, so it is third down, and the field goal team will come on. So another stand for the Eskimos defense.
Yeah, and it looked like Bo Levi Mitchell here recovers his own fumble. He scrambles to it, and then you'll see, watch Spencer Wilson, number 50, here in the middle of your screen. He sees Ted Laurent do something in there, and he's giving a couple extra pushes, and he goes in and rips him off the pile.
Here's Paredes for 3. And it's back-to-back field goals for Calgary to start this second half. A 16-point lead. Six minutes into this third quarter, 6 points for Calgary, expanding their lead to 16. Drop play to John White, and White surging ahead to the 40 has 5. Well, John White, part of, I guess most players have one rivalry game like Labor Day. For John White out of Utah, it was the Holy War against BYU. There's Jawan Simpson, the Iron Bowl. He's a graduate of the Alabama Crimson Tide, played Auburn in their hate game. And Mike Riley's was not quite as big at Central Washington against Western Washington. He played against Calvin McCarty in one of those. Now a fake on the quarterback option, and Riley gets pulled down after a couple. Cordero Law wouldn't let him by.
It's one of those great things about football is that you get your rivalry games. For Justin Capicotti over there on the Edmonton bench, it was the Shrumble SFU versus UBC every year. I remember every one of those too, and those were fun, where the UBC engineers found something to change or launch or something. When there was a car upside down once on the stadium roof or something.
It's always the engineers.
Yeah, I don't know what they were doing, but these rivalry games are huge.
So a turnover on downs, a 2-and-out after not even getting on the opening kickoff of the second half. A sluggish start for Edmonton. Here's Larry Taylor. Cover team's been good for the Eskimos. Chris Thompson's been physical, as Labor Day usually produces.
We just saw a good shot here in this break, and he continues to talk to his receivers as Bo Levi Mitchell there talking to Maurice Price and Markway McDaniel in the huddle. Almost like they've got something going on.
Start double tight ends, and there's Cornish coming around this way, and again, first down production has been limited for John Cornish. TJ Hill there to make another tackle.
That's the 5th tackle for TJ Hill. One of the reasons that the Eskimos have been able to control so far John Cornish. Last year at Labor Day, he had just over 70 yards rushing, but it was the rematch where he took off.
At 180, 185-yard rushing games against Edmonton, averaging 6.9 yards a carry on the season. Got 5 there, but for the most part, held in check. 2nd and 5. Yep. There's Price, has the catch, has the Calgary first down at the 45.
And that's why Bo Levi Mitchell was talking to Maurice Price in the huddle. On passing downs, this is the matchup that he wants to go after right now, because Chris Robacamba has had a couple of pass interference calls. He's going to back off, be a little more cautious, and Maurice Price going to take advantage of that. Don't be surprised to see Bo Levi Mitchell go back to that well a few times.
Price, 3 catches, 58 yards, has had at least 5 receptions in each game he's played this year. They fake the toss to Cornish, and here's Sinopoli into Edmonton territory and spun down at the 43-yard line. Brad Sinopoli, the Ottawa GG product, with a big gain.
Well, like Matt Dunnigan mentioned, that Starting to get things going here. Sinopoli's going to come across the formation and out into the flat. Little play action to John Cornish. They've established that. Little fake pitch there. Dumps it off to Sinopoli, and 23 yards later, Edmonton rallies to the tackle. Got to sell the play action here. Boom, big toss right, or to his left, and then off to Sinopoli.
Eric Samuels, the tackle, and back into the hands of Price. They work that side, cuts in, and Mo Price, touchdown. You were eavesdropping in the huddle.
Well, I just looked at the matchup, and Chris Rabakama has got a future in the CFL, but he's a young guy playing on that wide corner, and the Calgary Stampeders have come out in this third quarter about midway through, and they moved Price over there. Like the matchup, Rabakama's got a couple of penalties that have hurt him, and they go back to it.
4 plays, 85 yards, and a 42-yard touchdown for Maurice Price. Extra point from Paredes as the Stampeders open it up. (30-7), under 5 minutes left, third quarter.
Maurice Price, matchup on Chris Rabakama. Look at the cushion in between the two. He backs up. Now, Chris Thompson gets blocked trying to help on the tackle. Rabakama's now in a chase position, and Price walks in 42 yards.
He should be a lobbyist. He had to talk John Huffnagel into getting him into the lineup for the game, and then you saw him in the huddle talking Bo Levi Mitchell into getting him the football. He'll get to the end zone if everybody listens to him.
Hey, Mom. Let's go.
Joe Burnett on the return. And he gets stuck at the 28-yard line. Brandon Smith, the tackle, and a sluggish second half for the Eskimos that started when they couldn't handle the opening kickoff of the third quarter.
Well, their defense has bailed them out a couple of times, but slowly starting to break down. And now we take a look at Mike Riley, who's taking a pounding, just 33 yards passing in this game.
Remember, over 300 yards in each of his last 3 starts, over 500 in one. But Rick Campbell's defense has locked it down here so far. Play action fake, and more trouble for Mike Riley. Charleston used. And this will be his sack, his 6th of the year. And 39 had 7 sacks after Labor Day last year.
Inside pass rush move. Just knocks the hands away of Matt O'Donnell, who tried to step outside and basically straight line to the QB.
He's telling us yesterday had to change some of his usual strategy working against a 6'11" offensive lineman. That ball batted down, and that's a couple that big front four's got a hand on too. So complete domination by that front four.
Boy, he's a guy that gets everybody going. He's a excitable guy.
And he gets excited playing on Labor Day.
I love the Labor Day Classic.
That's all that needs to be said.
He just summed up.
Yeah.
And he has been a force from start to finish here. Big boot by Shaw. Larry Taylor from the 26. And Kuhorn with a flag down will drop Larry Taylor.
Hey! What's going on?
62-yard punt, 16 on the return.
Now, last year in Labor Day, he didn't have a sack in that game, but he did have a season high in tackles.
So he might have a word with our
holding
league statistician.
Calgary number 28, 10-yard penalty, First down.
Hold against Brandon Smith because he told the camera there, the folks at home, that that's his second sack of the game. We weren't sure about one of them that has been given to Cordero Law, but might have to arm wrestle for that one sack after the game.
And they were both tied coming in at 5 apiece, so in their race within the room.
Oh, 11 last year, and again, he was stronger in the second half of the season than in the opening 9 games. Here's the direct snap. Cornish has some blocking. But again, the plate disrupted, and John Cornish is dropped up at the 37-yard line. 5 for Cornish. But tough sledding in his return this week after sitting and watching Matt Walter and Jonathan Williams last week in Toronto.
Yeah, and he may, Chris, break out of this before it's over as this Edmonton defense continues to get worn down here. But it just doesn't look like he has that same snap, that same high knee acceleration.
Getting the ball again and spun forward, close to the first down. Good second effort that time to get close to the first down stick.
He just getting back and working himself back in from that injury missed last week, as you mentioned early on. But one of the best things that John Cornish does is when he gets that low pad level and he's so quick, his feet are so quick in the hole that he can take those hits, make the quick move right in the hole, and then accelerate through it. The acceleration just hasn't quite been like we saw early in the year.
And up for a first down. Short drop Mitchell into the flat. Catch is made, and Snopley knee does touchdown. But the former Heck Creighton Trophy winner, quarterback turned receiver, has another catch.
Pretty soon, Chris Rabokamba's got to just go ahead and take a shot. He's got to come up and say, you know what, if you're going to keep throwing it out here to the wide field, I'm going to go downhill on one, take a chance. If it's a double move, you're in trouble, but so what? Take a shot at it, go after it, because they're going to just keep going over there until they stop.
What do they call him right now? The wounded caribou they're going after?
That's right.
When they look inside and almost picked off. Rennie Curran had his hands on the football, stepping in front of Marquette McDaniel.
Again, it's little things. As well as Joe Burnett's played, he had one close one in the end zone where it was a nice knockdown, held Calgary to field goal, but it could have been an interception. I mean, this is a perfect drop by Rennie Curran, a tough catch. It's kind of high for a linebacker, but at the same time, you make that little play. And then there's 3 or 4 little plays. They add up to a big play, and then next thing you know, you get that win you're looking for.
Coming into the game, no defender with an interception since week 4. Mitchell running out of time, and he'll get dropped back at the 42-yard line. Damaso Munoz with the sack, and that's his second of this Labor Day game.
It's a bit of a covered sack, too. And down the field, I think Bo Levi Mitchell initially had time to throw this ball. Munoz is coming on the stunt. He gets blocked initially. He keeps trying, but he keeps working at it until he gets there. But as he comes around to the outside, he is blocked initially. Bo Levi Mitchell has his first read, doesn't like it, has a throwing lane, doesn't like it. Then he tries to run, and Munoz gets there.
Rob Maver at the boot. Gary Cook back there. And Cook will be taken down by Eric Fraser at the 27-yard line. Flag back near the line of scrimmage. Stampeders with 30 points for the 6th time this season.
Holding. Edmonton number 17. While the ball was in the air, back 10 yards, first down.
That's Shamad Chambers called on the hold. So we should have one more play before the third quarter's done. The Eskimos were already switching ends, but quarter won't end on a penalty, so they've got to make the run downfield.
And I'm going to throw this in quickly on Mike Riley. At what point do you think about the rematch if you're at Cavus Reed?
It's a good point.
And the pounding he's taking.
You're down by 23 going into the fourth quarter.
12.
Do you risk him not being available for the rematch on Friday? Or do you think you're one big play from getting back in it?
You still have a fourth quarter to play, and there's time to come back, although they haven't shown much life.
Hand off inside, and that's the end of the quarter. It's been domination by the Calgary defense, led by Charleston Hughes, through 3 quarters of play in the 2013 Labor Day Classic.
Woo! John. He's one of Canada's best. The guy's a whiz kid with the blue balls. He's a cool math dude who plays football. His point sure adds up. He's crazy fast. That's John for you.
CFL on TSN. You need to see these guys play.
Well, the stats on that left side really tell the story. 10 net yards for the Eskimos in the third quarter.
Well, and just when you think about an Edmonton team that has had some issues this year, obviously, but passing yards has not been one of them throughout the last 3 games. They've been over 1,100 yards passing, and to see that difference in net yards at 200 yards difference, amazing, really. They just took away Fred Stamps, who has 0 catches in 3 quarters in this one.
Talk about Kevin Glenn at the outset, not getting a lot of respect. I don't think everybody spends a lot of time talking about Calgary's defense, and they have been very impressive here.
Well, clearly you take away Fred Stamps and you take away the Edmonton passing game. No other receiver, including Carey, Coke, Shamad Chambers, been able to fill in. That's secondary for Calgary. In the pass rush led by Charleston Hughes has not allowed Mike Riley to get it to number 2.
Lowest total for the Eskimos this year, 145 net yards against BC. They've got a ways to go to get that today, but there's a completion to Carey Coke in a first down. And that's the first Eskimo completion of the second half.
And that's dominance. I mean, that's a defensive effort that is dominant. That's when you can use the word. I mean, Charleston Hughes in the pressure, the hits that Riley has taken, 0 catches in 3 quarters for the leading receiver in the CFL.
Eskimos, best fourth quarter team so far this year. They need an enormous fourth quarter. Shamad Chambers run out close to another first down. Product of Laurier.
Yeah, and you know, when I think about what they're doing here, I'm watching Fred Stamps throughout this game. The Calgary Stampeders are not doubling him. They're not rolling it. They're just trusting Jamar Wall or Brandon Smith, depending on what side of the field that Fred Stamps breaks the huddle and enters. They just have been basically taking their man, playing zone defense, making sure they're physical with them, and Stamps has not been able to shake them.
Leads the league in 30-yard plus catches with 9. He's had at least 1 in 6 of his 7 starts. But nothing to show for the afternoon so far. Riley looks for Stamps and incomplete. Tight coverage again. Brandon Smith, the 6-year vet, step for step.
Oh, just great patience, and this is what I mean. They're not rolling the coverage. They're just saying, look, we're going to play you in your face, press coverage, and that's Brandon Smith playing on Fred Stamps. Patience, turns with him, cuts underneath, plays the football. It's been like that all afternoon.
2nd and 10. Riley with more time than usual. Went up there to Chambers, and Jamar Wall won't let him turn upfield. Forced out at the 40-yard line. It'll be 3rd and 5.
Let's take a look at Fred Stamps, and this is obviously the primary target on a deep route for Riley. He was looking down the field. Stamps was inside. They put 3 receivers into the boundary. He was number 2. And again, he's working this time again on Brandon Smith, straight down the sideline, covered completely.
I think that's as many steamboats as Riley's had in the game. Grant Shaw. That one will bounce to Larry Taylor. Special team player of the year back in 2009 has been corralled, but Levi Mitchell the Stampeders are front-running here in the fourth quarter. Stampeders up by 23 points early fourth quarter. Bo Levi Mitchell replacing the injured Kevin Glenn, who went out in the second quarter. John Gott did too, but he is back at his left guard spot. And quarterback draw. And Bo Levi across the 30-yard line up to the 33.
Well, as a footnote to Chris Rabakamba's game, and it's been a tough one here this afternoon. Kavis Reed really forced to put him out there with no Donovan Alexander available at safety. They had to move the import from Vanderbilt, Eric Samuels, to that spot, and really don't have that flexibility. So Rabakamba is forced to play the wide side corner. They do have Ryan Hines. A couple of pass interference calls. Tough afternoon.
A couple former Ticats. Here's Cornish. Trying to slice through the right side. Munoz with another tackle. First down for the Stampeders.
And remember, this is the short week, so for Calgary, you know, one of the concerns got to be Bo Levi Mitchell doing well, but what's the health of Kevin Glenn? How close is Drew Tate? Does John Huffnagel have all three quarterbacks available in a short work week?
Toughest week of the year when you play Monday and then against the same team on Friday. Back up in Commonwealth. And how many times have we seen a completely different story in the rematch? They're going to pound Cornish, who like to be a little fresher than most after having last week off. Yards have come grudgingly for him today. Second in the league behind Corey Sheets in 10-plus yard carries and in first down carries. And Cornish realized there was some kind of a mistake, and he calls timeout. Well, you don't usually see that, but John Cornish saw something he didn't like.
Timeout, Calgary.
You don't see this at all. I mean, the quarterback has done it. I've seen coaches run out and do it. Cornish, he saw something defensively, didn't like it, and to a point where I don't think Mitchell even saw him call timeout and took the snap.
So a chance for the young quarterback to go to the sidelines and confer with Dave Dickinson. Dave telling us yesterday that, of course, you're going to miss Nick Lewis, and what especially they would miss is that veteran presence to make sure the young guys are all lined up properly. And there was Cornish showing his veteran savvy. Now they try and drop it off, and Maurice Price going to go for another run, exploding down the field. He won't be caught. It's a third touchdown for Price. 67 yards.
Carmen Coffey to his first touchdown of the game, just a shallow crossing route that he picks up on the other side, along the scrimmage, other side of the formation. And goodbye.
He may want to finish those. That's twice that Rabakamba nearly stripped him of the football at the goal line. But he's finished the Eskimos today.
Legal participation, Edmonton number 15. That penalty's declined. It's a touchdown.
So on the chase, Rabakamba stepped out and came back into the field of play.
Lay off the side.
Dave Dickinson said that Maurice Price would give them an explosive element they haven't had. He has done that today. 5 catches, 166 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
So how does Maurice Price get that wide open? Well, I'm going to show you a couple guys. Brad Sinopoli, Price, the left side of the formation. He's going to go on the under. Watch the pick from Sinopoli. Stop it here. Sinopoli's coming across. He'll set the pick. Price comes underneath that pick. So the man covering Price was Marcel Young. Can't get there. Now it's a foot race as Edmonton tries to scramble to him.
And you said pick, not rub.
No, that was a pick.
There's Purvis on the return, and the misplayed that opening kickoff of the second half will bring it ahead to the 28-yard line.
Not taking anything away from Maurice Price's big afternoon here, but this is a pick not called by the officials as Brad Sinopoli seeks out the coverage man, Marcel Young on Maurice Price, and deliberately goes after him, and that's a pick that is not called missed. You can run your route and rub him, well, you can't track him down and block him. It's not a foul if it's not noticed.
So he's learning some of the tricks of the trade at the receiver spot. Mike Riley remains in, and he remains under siege, and taken down again.
And this is the point, I think, in the game, Chris, I might be inclined if I'm Kavis Reed to now get 13 on the bench and start thinking about next week as far as that goes. Give Crompton some reps in there and just allow Mike Riley to go to the bench now and start putting the ice bags on.
Well, the danger is one more hit might take him out of next week's game or Friday's game.
I think I just saw on the bench Jonathan Crompton go to get warmed up.
Second down, gets hit, gets it away, and Fred Stamps has a catch. Laid out for it, and they say he isn't down, so Stamps gets up and runs, and Jeff Hecht will bring him down in Calgary territory at the 48. That's a 32-yard play, so Stamps another 30-plus play in his repertoire.
I had to stab the football. Looked like both he and Kerry Koch are real close to each other, which isn't normally what you see when you see combination routes, but nice catch.
Did get up before contact. Calgary won all 4 meetings last year, outscoring Edmonton by a 30-point aggregate. They lead by 30 here in the first matchup of 2013. Koch bounced out of bounds by Chris Randall on the corner. So the other thing Kavis Reed might be thinking of is we need to get something positive out of this for Friday.
Yeah,
is that what he's thinking?
I hear you, but I really think the way that Mike Riley has taken such a beating over the last 3 weeks. I mean, let's a comeback here for the Edmonton Eskimos. I don't think so.
DeMonte Bolden shaken up on that last play, the big defensive tackle of the Stampeders getting attention. So we'll step out midway through this fourth quarter.
About this time of year, football kicks off south of the border. College football begins. Baseball's almost done. Just kidding. If you're a baseball fan, don't tweet me.
John White off the left side, and he gets down to the 34-yard line. Will Hugh Charles be available Friday? Hamstring injury last week on a kick return.
Kavis Reed has not been able to evaluate John White.
First down, Riley got a man open. Got it, Kerry Koch, touchdown. Kerry Koch in stride over Chris Randall.
Little protection. And Riley goes out over the top. sure what that late flag was.
Late flag at the end of that play. The 4th touchdown catch of the year for Kerry Coke.
After the touchdown, objectionable conduct, Edmonton number 84 will apply that penalty on the kickoff. Touchdown stands.
Really? Did he throw the ball at Chris Randall? Looked like he just threw it up in the air and celebrated. Unless he said something, I really didn't see.
And they'll keep the offense on the field, go for 2. And look into this corner for Marcus Henry, who can't camp under it. So 37-13 the score after the Coke touchdown. A 35-yard touchdown pass from Mike Riley, number 13 on the year for number 13.
Well, he ran a nice route, Kerry Coke, and he ran it one-on-one on Chris Randall and gets him behind, fades to the sideline, and I still yet to see where the penalty was. In fact, he throws it in the air and then makes sure it doesn't hit Eric Fraser.
Been a couple of penalties of the mysterious variety, unless it doesn't look like anything else happened.
Yeah.
No celebrating on that bench today.
No. Not in this game. Labor Day. Edmonton Eskimos have been so close the last 3 weeks. I think, expectations were that could really push a Calgary team here that was pretty banged up offensively in their receiving corps.
High short kick, and that's bouncing down up for grabs, and Matt Walter picks it up. And the former Dino, a little tentative to start with, gets it across the 45.
And Matt Walter probably a little bit more excited, more jump in his step late in this game because he's going to get some reps here offensively, I'm sure. At some point. Cornish coming on for one more series, looks like, but you got to think that John Huffman will probably get him out of the game.
So first down at the Calgary 47-yard line with Cornish taking the handoff. And to the 50 for 3. Calgary to extend their win streak head-to-head against the Eskimos to 6 consecutive games. 10 consecutive home wins for these Calgary Stampeders. And it's been a plug-and-play year for them with so many injuries, but next guy up has done the job. Mitchell throws the out, and Brad Sinopoli another catch, dropped the football, and does he get it back? Looks like the Eskimos are on the football.
Yep.
It's like Eric Samuels, the safety at the bottom of the pile.
And Rabakamba is the guy who steps up and makes a hit. So we'll have at least one play he can look back on and say, yeah, okay, it's one of those games, but came back and made a play late, didn't quit, didn't give up, came up, nice hard tackle, tackled the football, helmet right on it, bounces up.
So Mike Riley will stay in. It looked like it might be Jonathan Crompton later in this fourth quarter, but a touchdown quickly, and now a turnover keeps Riley in the game. He'll scramble around and take off. And Mike Riley beat first slide with Jonathan Hefney in the neighborhood. Doesn't like to slide, but I think that was the right decision, wasn't it?
It was, and Cordero Law was chasing him with Jonathan Hefney coming downhill on him, and I think Law may have helped him slide a little bit.
8 for Riley. 2nd and 8. Mike Riley, 6th in the league in rushing coming into this week. And he keeps it here. Well, confusion in that ride and decide with John White, but Riley wanted to keep the football and gets the first down. Had 8 carries, 76 yards last week.
Timeout, Edmonton.
And he slowly makes his way to the sidelines.
I think you're right on the assessment of the fact that Kavis Reed went with Mike Riley after the touchdown throw to Kerry Cope. They get a quick turnover. Crompton was warming up on the bench, so it looked like he was coming in. But one more series with Riley. Now, if they can rally and make this a little closer, can they build on a couple late touchdowns? A short work week going back for the rematch. I'm sure that's in the back of the mind of Kavis Reed as well.
Outscored their opponents 78-49 in the 4th quarter. Coming into this Labor Day. And a 4th quarter touchdown. A first down in Calgary territory. And a pass for Cope draws a flag. A couple come out there as Chris Randall impeded Cope's progress to the football.
I don't think there's any question about that. He had both hands around Kerry Cope. Skinny post. I was looking up to watch the great coverage again by Brandon Smith on
forward pass interference. Calgary number 33. It's a first down at the point of the foul.
We'll take a look again, but it looked pretty obvious that in this press coverage again, Kerry Cope with a inside move eventually, and as the ball's getting close, watch the right hand. And went around and raised to Cope.
Well, first down, Riley stands in, and he's got Coke again. The 3 straight 300-yard games from Mike Riley. The first time since '94 quarterbacks had 3 consecutive 300-plus and not a win in that stretch.
With a 500-yarder in there. I mean, you know, in the conversation we had yesterday with Kavis Reed, he said he's done enough to show us that he can be the franchise player. Now we just got to get him some help, some a little bit better protection, a running game, maybe one more receiver if they get Bowman back pretty soon, and they really believe they've got the quarterback they can build around. And I don't disagree. I'm a big fan of a guy who's just toughed it out over the last 4 weeks and has done almost everything except win when you consider what Mike Riley has accomplished.
Boy, they got to protect him better, though, don't they?
No,
this has been
no
a
question.
Rough couple of weeks. Still upright. And 2nd and 1 after the measurement that gave Riley a chance to get over to the sidelines once again. Ball just inside the 20-yard line. And off to White. A little jump cut there, and not much. Should be enough, though, for the first down. By the way, we're getting reports from our stats man, David Moyer, and the CFL official statistician, Steve Daniel. They have changed that sack. Charleston Hughes now with 2 in the game. There's White out of the backfield, and he makes a man miss, and he'll score. John White into the end zone, and the Eskimos have a pair of 4th quarter majors.
And Riley recognizes blitz here and throws it in that voided area. The blitz is going to come from Keon Raymond. and it comes off the edge, and that's why Riley knows that his back out of that backfield should be open. He was. John White, nice move in the open field.
And the first time they have deployed White as a receiver in the game, it's an 18-yard touchdown catch. And now a 17-point lead for Calgary with just over 4 minutes to go.
A little surprised they didn't go for 2 there, Chris, at the end. They tried to go for 2 in their last touchdown to Kerry Cope. Now looking at a 17-point game. They go for 2 and get it. It's a 16-point game. And you're 2 possessions and 2 two-point converts away from tying it.
Family, love you guys. Shout out to my friends. Mariah, love you.
So 3 scores, and we'll see if the hands team comes out. Just about everybody back for Calgary. And Shaw will short kick it. Anybody there? Eskimos may have knocked it out. Let's see. What's the call? It is Edmonton football.
Wow.
Calgary didn't look like they were expecting a short kick. There was the normal alignment, and that was not as difficult as you would have expected for the Eskimos.
It was like that sky ball. It wasn't really an onside, a little deeper than that, but it did surprise Calgary. It also was put in really a corner in between Rob Cote there. Last guy to touch it going out of bounds.
And off the fingertips is enough for Marcel Young to have it go off him out, and still a little life for the green and gold. Riley will step up, field opens up, and he'll slide down around the 30-yard line.
That's a good choice to do that.
Well, they've made fourth quarters interesting. And adding a little intrigue to this fourth quarter now. Riley slings it and overthrows the intended target, Shamad Chambers.
You know, John Huffnagel emphasized all week long, I think, that he wanted this team to remember that the Edmonton Eskimos are a good fourth quarter team. And they put some numbers up in the fourth. In fact, I believe his quote was that they're the best, as far as points go, fourth quarter team in the league. And putting some points on the board. His defense has softened up a little bit late in this fourth quarter.
2nd and 10. Riley over the middle. He's got an open man, and it's Matt Carter. Touchdown! 3 fourth-quarter touchdown passes for Mike Riley.
Wow.
And suddenly, no lead is safe is applicable.
And suddenly, the Edmonton Eskimo bench heard me at about the 8-minute mark say, does it look like they can come back? I don't think so. I say, wait a minute, it's not over yet.
Good. So Matt Carter with his first touchdown. And his last catch was week 3, but Mike Riley showing you how game he is. 10-point lead, 3-minute warning here at McMahon. On TSN, short yardage team out again. They might have it. Grant Carter unable to reach it, and the Stamps get on it. Whoa. Grant Shaw had a shot at that football.
Yes, he did.
After the touchdown by Matt Carter, that has cut the lead that was once 30 down to 10.
Well, just a squib kick forward for Grant Shaw. He had to wait for it to go 10.
And it's 10 there.
There's 10. Now he's got to get on it. Had the bounce. It just went right through his hands. Into the hands of Fred Bennett.
John Cornish stays in the game. They fake the toss. Pull Levi Mitchell. And that pass for Sinopoli incomplete with Capricotti putting pressure on the Calgary quarterback.
Riley gets a touchdown pass late to Carter, but takes a hit again from Charleston Hughes as he delivers it. Add that to a list of a ton of them. And now a big down here to pull Levi Mitchell to try and slow this momentum for Edmonton over the last couple of series. Needs a first down or two to get that done.
And the TSN decision desk being reprimanded for a premature call. Here's Jabari Arthur. There's a big first down for Calgary as Arthur won't go down but drops it, and the Eskimos have it. And away goes Armando Sewell, handing it off to Chris Thompson. Labor Day's officially got wacky here. And Thompson got a lot of room to run. Down inside the 15 and finally bounced out. Do you believe this?
What's going on? The Calgary fans. Chris Thompson's got to get his win. He covered, got the fumble recovery. Let's take a look. Jabari Arthur, nice job to get now. He's got first down territory here. Keep fighting for extra yards. Clearly that's a fumble. Now a little top. Look at that little handoff behind the back.
Yeah, a little look. Blocks on Cornish, and Chris Thompson has kept rambling down the sidelines and finally bumped out.
And Edmonton can make this a three-point game with a converted touchdown here with time for an onside.
They have time to kick off deep now.
Almost, yeah.
That'll be a decision. Larry Taylor helped on the stop, and he is shaken up. And we've talked about this, and it was debated the other night in BC about when you go short kick and when you kick deep, and 90 seconds seems to be the right time. But right now, just under 2.5 to go. So if the Eskimos, A, can score and B, do it quickly, Davis Reed may have time to kick it deep.
How about the behind-the-back handoff from Armando Sewell? I mean, the fumble, he's not out of bounds. Clearly still up, ball's out. Now Sewell with the behind-the-back here. Just a little, here, hand it back. There you go. Okay, now, and then a pancake block after on Sinopoli. There's the handoff, and now 90 comes up, bam, knocks down Sinopoli, and Thompson puts it on the doorstep. A quick strike here, it's a three-point game. Decision desk is in big trouble.
Yes, and unbelievably, this could turn out to be the wackiest Labor Day ever. 63 yards on the return. And the Eskimos first and goal at the 7.
They've got to wait for Larry Taylor to clear the field.
Now, some of us made the mistake of thinking a 30-point lead with 9 to go was enough. Pressure on, Riley into the end zone, snaps, touchdown!
Oh, baby. No lead is safe.
4 touchdowns for Mike Riley through the air in the fourth quarter.
And took another hit. Talk about a guy hanging in there, not giving up. Sticking around, Mike Riley.
We're watching it. heads somewhat in disbelief. 37-7 with 8 minutes left. 27-0 for the Eskimos since then.
Great recognition from Fred Stamps. He realizes that Eric Fraser's overrun it. Riley sees pressure coming, knows he's got to hang in there. He's done it all game. He's done it for 3 games. In fact, he's done it all year.
And suddenly the decision to go for 2 way back when looks huge with a 3-point Calgary lead. Mike Riley has touchdown passes on 4 of his last 5 completions.
And now we get a chance to see what the strategy is for Kavis Reed as far as the deep kick, because with 2:17, could essentially kick it deep.
Anthony Parker is the lone deep man again. Larry Taylor injured, so he's not available.
Look for one to get the quick 2 and out defensively. Get the ball back within a few first downs of field goal range.
And Bradshaw will kick it deep, and this might be trouble. Anthony Parker, good job to catch that over the shoulder. Now start down, and he'll step out just beyond the 25. Well, we've mentioned it, 4 fourth-quarter touchdowns, 5 completions. And when it looked like it was garbage time, apparently it was anything but. Kerry Cope.
John White out of the backfield, didn't give up. Mike Riley just keeps working. Matt Carter and Fred Stamps. A 3-point game, a chance where the defense gets a 2 and out. They get the ball back in decent field position here.
And the defense has not been bad today. A pass for Cornish goes incomplete. So now, 2nd down, clock stops, and time really not an issue at the moment. If for the Eskimos, if they are indeed able to get a stop here.
Interesting that Dave Dickinson went with a quick throw there to Cornish because the incompletion stops the clock immediately.
Don't know if you've ever been in one quite like this, but once it starts going one way, it's hard to turn it around, isn't it?
Oh, no question.
2nd and 10. Here comes the heat. Bo Levi Mitchell, chased by Hill, has the completion, and Sinopoli has a critical first down.
Monster. Huge. And how about Bo Levi Mitchell, who's all of a sudden got that sense of urgency back, gets outside, is patient, waiting for Sinopoli to open up on the sideline, doesn't throw it back against the grain, and hits the wide receiver for a crucial first down.
5th catch for Brad Sinopoli, 79 yards. But I think they need at least another first down to keep it out of the hands of Mike Riley. Cornish ahead, and not much there. Maybe 2 for John Cornish. 100 seconds on the clock. Eskimos do have a timeout. Greg Marshall sending in defensive signals.
Sinopoli will use all 20 seconds here in the huddle. Or excuse me, Bo Levi Mitchell.
And now is it Calgary to call timeout? Calgary didn't like what they saw, and they used a timeout.
Timeout, Calgary.
And so they stop it with 1:21 to go, and if the Eskimos can contain them to less than 10 yards, that's a huge clock stoppage for Edmonton.
Timer. Please put 1:23 on the clock.
I think the
timer, 1:23.
The 20-second clock, Chris, for Bo Levi Mitchell had gone down to about 2 seconds, and they weren't ready to snap the ball yet. So Dave Dickinson did not want to take that penalty and burn his time out there. But that favors Edmonton now, gives them an extra second. They need to get the stop on this down right now.
drop pass, and Jabari Arthur, did he hold on? Nope. No. Playing in the spot where Nick Lewis usually plays, and probably makes that catch.
Well, Bo, Levi Mitchell stood in there, put it out there where Arthur had a chance. And as he hits the ground, he doesn't maintain possession. He's got to survive contact with the turf there to have that a completed pass. Not able to do it. And Mike Riley gets a shot. He only needs field goal range.
Koch and Burnett both back. Good boot. Back pedals Koch to his 11. And good cover downfield. Randy Chevrier, part of that group. There's Justin Phillips as well. But here comes Mike Riley with one of the most memorable fourth-quarter performances ever.
Just 33 yards through 3 quarters in this fourth, and we're not done yet. 171. This had no quit attitude.
65 seconds on the clock. They're 93 yards away from a game-winning touchdown. Cut that in half for a game-tying field goal. Came down to a field goal on the final play last year. Who'd have thought that was possible today? Riley running out of time, and Charleston Hughes has a hat trick. Another sack for 39.
Same stunt they used early in the game when this defense was playing with great intensity. He's going to come all the way from outside into the middle, keeps working, bounces inside, and finally gets to Mike Riley.
Loss of 10, 2nd and 20. From the end zone, hit as he releases, and it's incomplete. Just a shade behind the intended target, Carter, and now they're down to 1 play.
Charleston Hughes just got a little pat on the back from Mike Riley out of respect. He was lying at the feet of Riley when he threw that. Now they're going to, looks like Riley wants to call his timeout here. But at the end of that play, Charleston Hughes was lying at the feet of Riley.
Edmonton.
He gave him a little pat on the back, just saying, wow, you just keep coming.
For much of this game, Riley reminds you of that prize fighter that the ringside physician keeps checking up on after each round, but he has hung in there.
Well, that physician has had the white towel in his hand for most of the game and not thrown it. And however this last 50 seconds turns out, Chris, this is something Edmonton can build on for the rematch.
Well, he has said no more moral victories without wins.
Jamar Wall is not in the game. Who they'll match up on Fred Stamps here? It looks like it'll be Brandon Smith again.
Does Fred Stamps have another big play in him? They need it from somebody on 3rd and 20. Riley lets it go. Looking for Cohorn. Got it! Nate Cohorn keeps the Eskimos alive. The former Calgary Dino and Medicine Hat product comes down with one of the biggest catches of his career and his first of this Labor Day.
Cavis Reed said one of the hardest working guys on the team, and that hard work pays off. Fred Bennett falls down, stumbles a little bit, gets caught up in the feet of Cohorn. Hang on.
Now 20 yards or so from Hugh O'Neill range. Lots of time to do more than that. Riley gunning it and overthrowing Kerry Koch.
Well, he had him. Kerry Koch made a nice move to get inside of Chris Randall here. And Eric Fraser, the over-top help wasn't there yet. There was a small window. Riley just overthrew him a little bit.
Eric Fraser on the limp a little bit. And again, they've got to do it again on Friday.
Jeff Heck in the extra safety spot, too deep.
Place in an uproar, 2nd and 10. Anybody home? Now on the roll. He'll take off. Trying to turn the corner, Juwan Simpson. Able to ease him out at the Calgary 51. No, they're going to mark it at the 53. Just under a half minute to go. They're still not in field goal range, and they're looking at another 3rd down. Hugh O'Neill has been an observer for the most part. He could be a central figure before it's done.
You go quarterback draw here, or do you throw the football? Both 4 to go.
Have to get down around the 50-yard line. All on the line. Throwing it up for Stamps. Fred Stamps can't get there. Incomplete. Turnover on downs. And the furious rally will fall short.
And the matchup for Calgary comes through again. Because, yes, Fred Stamps got a late touchdown, but he was held off the board for most of the game. 3 solid quarters from Brandon Smith. And this has been a great and fun matchup to watch all game long. Brandon Smith in the hip pocket, turns inside, stays with Fred Stamps, knocks that out of the air with the left hand.
And John Hufnagel goes over to congratulate the veteran DB on a game-saving play. A lot of folks left early in the 4th quarter. Those that remained were silent for quite some time. Now they'll take a deep breath and salute a team that has eked out a Labor Day victory that should have been a lot easier than that. But you got to hand it to the green and gold.
Well, they just kept battling, and this will be the 4th straight game they will lose by 3 or less points. 5th straight game.
2nd longest in history of the Canadian Football League for the Eskimos to lose by 5 points or less. Calgary holds on to win Labor Day, and the best part, they'll do it all over again Friday at Commonwealth. That's the story from McMahon. SportsCenter's Now.